And then we spoke about the great yogi Tilopa. And as we said, after he attained this very high spiritual initiation and attained a very, very elevated state of consciousness, he became a fisherman. And he was living a life of an ordinary fisherman for years. In the same time, in Bengal, there was a great scholar from a very high family, very rich, known family, Naropa, and he married a princess and he lived this life of wealth. But he was attracted to spirituality, so he became a scholar of Buddhism, and he was extremely charismatic. They would have matches, they would have public discussions between Hinduists and Buddhists. And it would be like there would be a great teacher and then smaller teachers and all that, and they would have for hours and hours, sometimes days and days, they would debate which religion is better. Buddhism kicks ass, Hinduism kicks ass, our religion is better, and so forth. And they would go from the very practical to the very philosophical, and he was becoming a Buddhist superstar. Yes, it was like the Oprah Winfrey of the 10th century. And after one discussion, 600 people converted from Hinduism to Buddhism and so forth. And he was very well known, very well respected, intelligent, known in the scriptures and so forth. And then his life takes a turn similar to Tilopa's life, to the life of his future guru. A woman who is described as one of the ugliest possible women. She had 27 defects of ugliness. She had the nose like this, and the hair like this, and the forehead like that, and wrinkles and pimples and all sorts of things. So a woman extremely ugly came, and same like Tilopa, she came and she told him, do you know the scriptures? Do you know them intellectually, or do you have the experience? And he says, no, I have the experience. And then she looked at him very angry, and she says, do you have just the knowledge or also the direct experience? And something inside of him cracked. And he says, no, I only have the intellectual knowledge. And then she told him, you should find my brother, Tilopa. He will teach you. Very angry, she left from there. And he felt the impulse. He felt where she was coming from. And he left everything. He left the life of the prince. He left his wife. Always they leave their wives. Like Buddha, what happened to the wife after? Yeah, later she becomes his disciple, but I'm sure in the beginning she was heartbroken, and he starts searching for Tilopa. 1,000 years ago, no internet, no posts, very difficult. He was just going from city to city to find Tilopa, and after a period of searching, he realized that in order to find Tilopa, he must purify himself. So he was starting to do practices to prepare himself to meet his guru. And once he purified enough, he entered a village, and asked, is there a spiritual teacher here by the name of Tilopa? And they were all laughing. He says, no, we don't have a spiritual teacher, but there's a fisherman there. You can go and see him. His name is Tilopa. So he went, and Tilopa was dressed like a fisherman, smelling like a fisherman, talking like a fisherman. And Naropa says, my guru, at last I found you, and bowed to his feet. And Tilopa looked at him and says, are you crazy? You are a noble man, a prince, a spiritual teacher. I'm a fisherman. Why do you bow to your feet? He says, no, you will not. I will not be fooled. I know you are a great master. Please teach me. And Tilopa tells him, you're crazy. I don't want to be next to crazy people. And he started walking. And Naropa after him. And then Naropa starts running, and Tilopa is running. And the distance between them stays equal. It's like a magical thing. No matter how fast he walks or how slow he walks, he's always a few steps behind Tilopa. And they reach the edge of a cliff, and they are there together. And then Tilopa stops. There's nowhere to go, and Naropa reaches him. And he says, Gurudev, please accept me as your disciple. I will do everything. And Tilopa says, no. A disciple of mine would jump off the cliff. And Naropa, without thinking, jumps off the cliff. It's repeating, you'll see. It's not the worst thing he's doing. He jumps off the cliff, all his bones are broken. Tilopa goes down. He puts his hand on him. Immediately, Naropa heals. And then he says, now, will you accept me as a disciple? And Tilopa says, yes, I accept you as my disciple. And he punches him very strongly in the face. Naropa faints and enters Samadhi. And then the biography of Naropa is really a pearl to read. You just see how the story continues. He comes out of Samadhi, and Tilopa gives him one technique. One of these 6 yogas that we mentioned, the yoga of dream, the yoga of fire, the yoga of death, the yoga of the illusionary body, and so forth. He gives them one technique, he gives them the power to initiate him, and then Tilopa goes in Samadhi. For 1 year he enters a state of supra-consciousness. He comes back, and he will challenge Naropa, his disciple, if I remember correctly, 12 times. They sit next to the fire, and Tilopa said, oh, if I had a disciple, he would jump in the fire a long time ago. And Naropa would jump in the fire, and he would say, Naropa, what happened to you? He says, oh, my body is on fire, and being identified with the ego, I suffer. He says, well, come out of there. Then he would heal him again, and teach him one more technique, enter Samadhi for a year. Naropa would practice, he would come out, and then he came and he says, where is your wife? Bring me your wife. Brings the wife, he has sex with his wife for I don't know how long, tortures Naropa's, all his concepts of what to do, what not to do in society and so forth. And he tortures him like this tremendously. One time he tells him, go to that, I feel like eating rice, go to the wedding there and get me some rice. And Naropa is dressed like a monk, he asks for rice, they give rice. And then he says, oh, Tilopa eats the rice. He says, it's fantastic, go and ask more rice. Now it's forbidden to, as a monk, you cannot ask for food twice in the same day from anywhere. So he goes and asks for rice, and Tilopa tells him, if they refuse, don't worry, pour a bucket of water all over their food. So Naropa does like that. He asks for more rice, they refuse, he takes a bucket of water, pours all over their food. The whole wedding after Naropa runs. And Tilopa, he gave them a sword. He says, wave that sword if they start chasing you. So he waves the sword, and then magically there is a kind of hut around him. The people, they cannot break in the hut, but they make a fire around it. So Naropa has to escape. And then he makes a kind of shape of a half moon, and there's a little river there. They pass the river. Eventually, to make the story short, he gets really badly beaten up. And like this, Naropa passes all his tests. The last one, he is sitting in meditation for many, many years silently. And then he attains liberation. And Tilopa tells him, Naropa, you are the last person in history who will have strength to endure such an intense practice. You be soft on your students. Never ever should a master treat a disciple the way I treated you, because nobody will ever be able to take it. But for you, I have burned all your bad karma in the course of a few short years by this intense suffering. And Naropa comes back and starts teaching, and basically he receives from Tilopa these 6 yogas that Tilopa received from the Dakinis and from other teachers. From one teacher he got the yoga of fire, from the other one the yoga of dream, and so forth. And Naropa edits the knowledge, edits the text of Tilopa, and it is the first time that these very, very secret practices are brought about openly, publicly by Naropa.